Hello and welcome to another week here at Concord Food Co-op Organic Gardens. It's Farmer Andy again. This week I wanted to cover briefly what I'm seeding on my seeding schedule. So I have my sheet here, and the first thing is tomatoes. It's maybe a little bit too early if you're planning on starting tomatoes for yourself at home. They take about maybe 6 to 8 weeks until you want to transplant outside, and you definitely don't want to transplant them until almost June. They can't tolerate a frost at all. But I'm starting them a little bit early, both because I have protected culture here in a hoop house that keeps them a little warmer in the springtime, and also I'm going to be grafting mine. And so the grafting process and the healing that it takes afterwards slows them down by a week or two. Essentially I'm growing a rootstock variety called Fortamino, and that will provide vigor and disease resistance, and then I will be grafting on top of that various fruiting varieties or scions, and I'm growing a few new varieties to me this year and some old standards. I am also going to be starting another round of scallions. I do a succession of scallions every week, and those get sold to Stephanie at Micro Mamas, and she turns them into kimchi. And I will also be starting peppers, both for a plant sale and for my own production here. It's a great time if you're gardening at home to be starting peppers. They take a long time to germinate and to grow to size so that you can transplant them out in the garden. That's it for today's seeding schedule, and I will show you a few other things that I've been up to a little later. Hello! Today I wanted to show off my first trial with this new tool that I bought this year. This is a flexible tine weeder, and you can see just from slightly knocking it or jiggling it, all of these little wire tines, they want to go back and forth in the soil. And essentially what that's doing is it's sort of simulating your fingers just sort of scratching the top little, just like 1/8 of an inch of soil. You want to just drag this lightly across the soil and let that little wiggle do all the work. So theoretically, this is going to pull up any tiny, tiny, tiny weeds that are either post-emergent or just barely broken the surface of the soil. If they have any like lateral branching of their roots at all, this is not going to pull up the weed. But the other nice thing about this tool is it actually allows you to pass right over crops that are seeded in the ground. As long as your crop is maybe a week ahead of the weeds, you can time it such that you can go right over the crop without disturbing it, but you pull out all the weeds, and this saves so much time in hand weeding. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, this is my first time using this tool, so it's a little bit of trial and error here to see how best it works, but I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that this is going to be the right tool for the job. So here we go. Something else I'm doing this week is thinning out a few trays of parsley. I intentionally overseeded these, so I put 2 or 3 seeds in every single cell. The germination percentage was around 85%, and I wanted to make sure that I got at least 1 seed coming up in every single cell. I don't like wasting the potting soil. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the number of plants in each cell down to 1, just using these fine tipped shears here. And it's something that I have to do regularly every week throughout the whole spring, but it's something that's good to do before the plants get too big. Otherwise they'll have been competing with each other, and you will decrease the amount of plant growth that you might have gotten if you just had one plant growing in that cell. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you can watch me in just a sec. I also wanted to highlight this week's progress in the seedlings. Here's some peppers which are just starting to come up. You can see some of the plants emerging from the soil. And then the tomatoes are much further along. This is some of the scion varieties that will be the fruiting variety. And then here is the rootstock. So they're both coming along. You want those to be roughly at the same stage of growth. It makes the grafting a lot easier. And then down here, we've just got a lot more tomatoes. They're all coming up. And then finally, I started some herbs a few weeks ago, and in the back is chives and garlic chives. And in the front, we have yarrow, which is a good plant for attracting beneficial insects. And then in the middle there is rosemary, which is a little spotty, but it should be coming up more over the next few days. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to follow us on Facebook or YouTube, and you'll get updated when new videos come out. And I hope you learned something, and I'll see you again next time.
If you're in the mood for real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.